Okay, calmer weather today, and there's more sunlight coming out. I guess I was fortunate that I was able to capture some of that red moon yesterday, huh? And with that in mind, what's going on today? How about this one? With a lot of people fearing recreational people using drones and so forth, is usually always official when I read stories like this. How about this one? This one says Iran using drones and apps to enforce women's dress code. Is that the definition of a quote police state that people are afraid of when officials are using things like drones anyways on citizens? It says Iran is using drones and intrusive digital technology to crush dissent, especially among women who refuse to obey the Islamic Republic's strict dress code, the United Nations has said. Investigators say Iranian security officials are using a strategy of state-sponsored vigilantism to encourage people to use specialist phone apps to report women for alleged dress code violations in private vehicles such as taxis and ambulance. Man, ambulance? Can you imagine that? If there's an emergency or whatever, like you're bleeding and so forth, are they really that concerned about dress code in that instance? It says their new report also highlights the increasing use of drones and security cameras to monitor hijab compliance in Tehran and southern Iran. For women who defy the laws or protest against them, the consequences are severe: arrest, beating, and even rape in custody. That's kind of crazy when I'm reading about it anyways, just as someone who doesn't live in the area and all that. It says the state is increasingly reliant on state-sponsored vigilantism in an apparent effort to enlist businesses and private individuals in hijab compliance, portraying it as a civic responsibility. At Tehran's Amir Khabir University, authorities installed facial recognition software at its entrance gate to also find women not wearing the hijab, the report said. Surveillance cameras on Iran's major roads are also being used to search for uncovered women. Investigators also said they obtained the Nazar mobile phone app offered by Iranian police, which allows vetted members of the public and the police to report on uncovered women in vehicles, including ambulance, buses, metro cars, and taxis. If this is all true, I think this is the extreme case on what people are worried about in terms of officials using drones with things like facial recognition and all that. Although I guess you could argue too, there's cameras everywhere nowadays. But what would happen if your area has strict, let's just say, laws like this, for example, and then people trying to like snitch at other people for this as well? I know a lot of people would say in this instance, what, this will never happen in our area, like in North America. I mean, if you think about it, actually, it kind of did over the past couple of years on various issues. It might not be directly related to this particular topic, but it showed you when people are really, I guess, for one type of ideology, or let's just say way of living, they'll do almost anything to enforce their beliefs. It doesn't matter, huh? Like in these cases, I can imagine they'll be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, use this and this for that, like the drones. But what would you think in this case? Again, is it just one of those, there's cameras everywhere anyways, or would you want to stop them, I guess, from potentially using it in the future in ways like these? I don't know if you can though, honestly. And with that thought, more news about people getting fined for flying drones. How about this one? This one here says, man flew over Bramley-Moore Dock and ended up 2,890 pounds worse off. A man was fined just under 3,000 pounds for flying his drone over Bramley-Moore Dock. A court heard Nicholas Durbin flew the drone in excess of 400 feet height limit on May 9th last year, potentially endangering any other airspace users in the area. The flight took place from the Wirral, crossing the River Mersey to the new Everton FC Stadium. During this flight, the 45-year-old also traveled up to 1.3 kilometers away from his takeoff point, meaning he could not maintain visual line of sight. On a previous occasion on March 20th last year, Durbin also flew a drone at nearly 300 feet above the legal height limit in Anglesey. During this flight, he also traveled up to 2.39 kilometers away from his takeoff point, meaning he could not maintain visual line of sight. Man, isn't that too far? I'd be worried about the drone losing signal and all that too. I know a lot of them, they have like return to home features, but still, that's a bit too far generally speaking, like just minus all this beyond visual line of sight stuff anyways. And it says Durbin, the Merlin Avenue Upton, was found guilty at Sefton Magistrates Court on Thursday, March 13th on 4 offenses. 2 offenses of being the remote pilot of an unmanned aircraft, failing to comply with operating height, and 2 offenses of being the remote pilot of an unmanned aircraft, failing to keep unmanned aircraft in sight. He was given a combined fine of £1,600, victim surcharge of £640, and the cost of £650, totaling £2,890. So what would you say in that case anyways? But in general, that's kind of a theme too in terms of the stories. People getting fined, like recreational people flying drones, and at the same time officials using them to prosecute people too, I guess, in a lot of places. Although on a random fun note, apparently there is going to be a dragon drone of sort, I guess, flying around Universal. It says first look of flying dragon drone coming to Universal Epic Universe. This is based on the movie, I believe, and it says Universal confirmed last month that How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk would be populated with flying dragons. In addition to walk around dragons and dragons peeking out of houses through the land. Wedge 2 previously spotted Dart the Nightlight, a half-size animatronic practicing backstage at Epic Universe. I always wondered about that in terms of putting costumes over the drones. I've seen those videos before of people putting, for example, ghost costumes on their drones during Halloween to scare people, because in a lot of places they consider attaching any additional items to the drone as requiring even more approval and stuff like that. So it makes me wonder in this case how much of a legal barrier they have to go through anyways to do this, but at least some people are using it for fun, I guess, in terms of the tech, huh? All right, see you guys later.